I am just a glass case of emotion. An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is my YA gospel. That is 100% my bias, but I will try and be as objective as possible, don't worry. I won't be full-on fangirl. Maybe towards the end, though. If you somehow don't know what An Ember in the Ashes is, let me enlighten you. Or more importantly, let me tell you about the author real quick. Sabaa Tahir is a Pakistani-American author, and her first series, which is this series, got a lot of attention. Though this series is regarded as a popular YA series, I never hear about it. But today, I'm going to give it its due because I love it so much. Yes, I'm using a microphone. Please bear with me. People say this is inspired by Rome, and I totally see the connections with that, because the whole military stuff is very Romanesque. Some people might not know, even if you have read the series, is that in one of Sabaa's interviews, she stated that this was initially inspired by events that were happening in Kashmir, where women's fathers, sons, and brothers were being taken away by the military, never to be seen again. So the more you know, but that definitely, I see the connections with that now. Anyway, so the Martial Empire ruled the country and are oppressing many different groups of people. The scholars, which are one of these groups, get the brunt of it. We follow 2 points of view, Elias and Laia. Elias is a martial soldier training at Blackcliff Academy, which is basically the military powerhouse of the Empire. They shape and train kids into masks, which are a rank of notoriously deadly soldiers. Laia is one of the scholars. When her home is raided, her grandparents are murdered, and her brother arrested for treason, she has nowhere else left to turn to but the Resistance. But the Resistance want something in return. So Laia becomes a spy to get intel on what happens inside the walls of Blackcliff, where she meets Elias, and the two realize that they aren't so different from each other, despite being on different sides of the Empire, and their fates are ultimately tied with the fate of the Empire itself. That is where I will leave it. I feel like this series is one of those series where it's better for you to go in not knowing everything. Despite the fact that I have told you the synopsis, there's way more stuff that I could have told you, but I did not. So, I think that's partly why I enjoyed this series so much, is because I had an inkling of what it was about, but I didn't actually know the full scale of it. Why do I love this series so much? Well, that is a big question. You know when you find a book that you're vaguely curious about, and you think it sounds good, right? Yet you don't know what it's all about entirely. But then you pick up the book and you start reading it, and it surpasses everything you could have ever imagined it to be. This is one of those books for me. It's so rare for me to come across books that surprise me. They always stay in my heart when they do that. I wish I could read this series for the first time again, because when I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. And that's a big deal for me. And I think that's partly because Sabaa's writing is very action-packed. Characters are always on the move, and I know for some people that that's too fast-paced, which I totally understand. Everyone's reading experiences are different after all. But there are also these brief, quiet moments between characters where the pacing slows down and you can take everything in. But to add on to that idea of action, Elias's character being the physically strong soldier that he is, his chapters were my favourite, because he was the one in the thick of the action. And that's not to say that Laia's chapters were boring. She was just on a different journey. Some of her chapters, to me, did seem slow, especially before she entered Blackcliff, but I'm not mad at it. And I've seen in lots of reviews that some people don't like Laia because she's deemed as the weak character or the weaker character, which again, I totally see where you're coming from. She is someone who is consumed by guilt and fear. There is no denying that. But I found it much more easier to relate to her because of that. Because imagine being thrown into this world. This grim, horrible, evil world. Like, I would be acting the same way. You watch her learn to control her fear and become stronger in that passive way, which I really, really liked. I feel like in YA there are too many instances where we're very quick to like the physically strong badass character, or like strength is defined as being physically strong. You're a knife-wielding badass. When, you know, life's way more complex than that. That's not the case. And it was really refreshing to see someone like Laia in a book who I could relate to much better, because I don't know how to throw knives. Don't get me wrong. We all love a good knife-wielding badass. But it's refreshing to see a passive strong character. Strength is not defined in one single way, which is why I appreciate Sabaa making this. Another reason why I ate this book up, this story is ultimately about people banding together in the face of adversity. Or described in a very cheesy way, boy meets girl, they take down an evil empire. And I know how cheesy that sounds, but I think that there is a reason why these stories are always being retold, reimagined, and made anew. It's because we can't get enough of them. And at the end of the day, human beings will always have hope, which I really like that message, especially in times like right now. That is where I will leave the review/spoiler-free section. So if you want to come back once you have read the book, we can do a little spoilery discussion. Hang on, let me just reposition, because we're gonna have a little chit chat. This is me laid back. Let's talk. Elias and Laia, they are my ship. They are my ship. Elias, will you marry me? I'm a simple bitch. There's just something about a man who realizes the faults in the society or place that he has grown up in, and he is trying to break away from that life that he was involved in. There's just something so attractive about it. So, Elias, are we not going to talk about the fact that Elias has some dirty thoughts? I'm always so caught off guard, because I'm like, he talked about pulling Laia's hair at one point, and I was like, excuse me? I'm okay. Totally not jealous. My favourite scene in this book was the Moon Festival. It's a nice Laia and Elias moment. I don't even have words. He has the audacity to flirt in Sadiz. I'm assuming that's what he was doing. We don't know what he said. Sabaa, if you're watching this, what the hell did Elias say to Laia? Because I need to know. That haunts me, because he says, I'd really have to show you. Are we gonna act like you never said that? I'm dying to know. This is me really liking cheesy and tropey shit, but whenever Elias states that he's staring, but then he realizes he's staring, but he can't stop staring, specifically when Laia is anywhere in sight, these two just have to stare at each other and I am invested. So initially when I first read the book, I absolutely did not like Helene. She annoyed me. She was just pining for Elias the entire time. But, honestly, girl, the shit you have to put up with, I feel sorry for you, and I totally understand why you would pine over him. Because it makes sense. Imagine, you're a 6-year-old kid, you're taken to Blackcliff, and you're the only girl out of however many boys. I would lose my mind. I can't even imagine what you have to deal with, Helene. Marcus Farrar. Every time that man comes on the page, I want to fucking square up. I hate him so much. I have never hated a character so much in my entire life. And the funny thing is, I know he's not, as of now, he doesn't stand out to me as a complex villain, but there is more to him than what meets the eye. Because I've read the second book, but we're not talking about the second book. Marcus is a very easy character to hate, is what I'm trying to say. But there are just lines that he says, and he just gets so under my skin. No. Poor Helene. I am so sorry, Helene. You are a trooper. You have to deal with Marcus. Not only that, I forget just how horrible Elias Veturius is. I always underestimate her every time I reread the book. I know this game. I already know who you are. I'm not going to be surprised, but then you get up to the scene where she carves the K in Liar. I was like, we're just going to get tortured. I've been through this before. It's fine. But then what she says to Liar, the way she says things, it's very unnerving. And surprisingly, I'm caught off guard. There are so many layers to the commandant, and I don't know, people say the commandant. Scratch that, I don't even know how to pronounce this, but people say the commandant. I say the commandant because I'm Australian and Australians don't like to move their mouths when they pronounce things, so sorry. But there are so many layers to her. Do I hate her as much as I hate Marcus? No. How do you specify hate? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I don't want to say that I hate her. I'm intrigued by her. She is horrible though, whereas I absolutely hate Marcus. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You know what? I can't sympathize with Marcus at this point, but I can sympathize with Karis because I can see that there has been some sort of thing to make her this way. But who fucking her? Oh my god, that's it. It's vaguely hinted at that she has some sort of daddy issues because Quinn did not give her attention and, you know, he's being sexist or whatnot. Because he wants a boy to be all powerful and strong, but when she's powerful and strong, it's not enough. But I don't think that's it. I want to know who Elias's daddy is because I can't say why. Because the second book. When I read the second book, that was just at the forefront of my mind. Who is the father? Who is this man? Who hurt Elias Veturius? Who? I've made so many memes for this series, but no one sees them on my Tumblr, and I'm like, but it's so creative. Look at this one that I made. I'm proud. I am proud of it. Anyway, I think that is where I will leave the spoilery, gushy discussion, whatever this is called. You can call it whatever you want. It's just me fangirling. That's the main point. If you have gotten this far, put your feelings and thoughts down in the comments because I want to talk about it because I have no one to talk about this series with and I am just a glass case of emotion.
Ron, where are you? I'm in a glass case of emotion!
So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.